So I have some other news in regards to the the transgender bill that was, pretty much turned into an act earlier this year. So one thing that has happened is that now it is I think the website that actually gives trans people their ID cards, so they are able to get their medications or other things, actually went down. And so once a complaint was registered, I believe there was a judge who said that a trans ID is not a ration card, and people should not take this so seriously. But when we consider the implication of people who are not getting the proper medication to be able to live their lives properly, I think it is just as meaningful, and people should not consider this a very small thing, especially people who are in the courts, the judges, especially considering that these are citizens of India that we are talking about. And as always, like I said, that this the trans amendment bill, should never have even been thought about. But the fact that there are people in the positions of the judiciary who are making such statements, um, you know, definitely does not fill me with any glimmer of hope for this very important group. So as always, stop the trans rights bill, but absolutely we need to definitely raise our voices against this. Hello everyone, welcome to Nareen's Life with MS. This is Nareen and it's time for Mindful Monday. And this Mindful Monday, I it I had a really hard time deciding what to talk about, because there just happened to be certain days where you don't find reasons to be mindful, because your you know time, like right now, your present, whatever's happening in the present is probably not going as well as you hoped, right? And so as a result, you're thinking that, okay, how can I be mindful when things aren't looking so positive? And the one thing that actually does help me, or at least tries to help me get into that mindfulness space, is the fact that when you are mindful, you're not judging anything, right? You are just looking at the world, you are looking at yourself, and it is what it is, right? The only one thing that you should ideally be worried about is whether or not you're breathing, and chances are you probably are. And you know especially at times when you're not feeling your best, when you're feeling slightly negative emotions or a lot of negative emotions, it it actually becomes hard to look at everything and try to look at everything objectively, especially considering that you've got 50,000 things, and like when you've got one thing that is negative in your brain, right, wherever it is, let's say over here, everything that it is connected to suddenly also becomes negative, and then that negativity grows and grows and grows, and suddenly from this one point here, suddenly it's everything, right? And at that one point, it just becomes difficult to, you know, look at everything and just say, okay, that it is what it is, right? Que sera sera, right? Um, I mean, that is technically not that que sera sera is, you know, whatever will happen will happen. I think it's better to say it in Spanish, SOCKS. Yeah, which is it is what it is. It's very hard to do that when you're especially in a, you know, slightly negative space. And you know, for me, one thing I definitely want to do when I get into that sort of space, that sort of funk, if you will, is to try to find something that can make me feel happier, right? Something that can maybe put a smile on my face, make me laugh, just try to get me a little out of that negativity. Because the hardest thing to do is to try to find, you know, mindfulness when you're just thinking something negative. And I definitely, you know, maybe that is something that I need to work on, because I definitely want to ask you, how do you find mindfulness if you're thinking something negative, or you're having a sort of negative feeling, you're feeling a little sad, you're feeling a little under? What do you do when you're feeling like this? Because, you know, I definitely need that help. And I don't want to talk a lot today because, like I said, I'm not exactly feeling at my best right now. But the one thing I will say absolutely is that mindfulness is a very important thing. And we always need to look, when we are being mindful, we should always look at everything and just say, SOCKS, right? It is what it is, right? We have to be as objective as possible, and we have to be able to say, you know, our mind is cluttered, but let it be, right? Let it be where it is. And, you know, just be able to live in the moment and, you know, just focus on one thing, which is current, which is our breathing. And so, definitely, if you have ways to be mindful while you are in, let's say, a negative state, please do share it. Please do, you know, give me indications. Please share your thoughts, your insights, your experiences, so that we can get a conversation started and I can learn something about being mindful, about being someone who can really experience mindfulness, even if I'm coming from, you know, a negative sort of space, a negative emotion, a negative place, really. But of course, with all of that said, I hope your week started off very well. I hope that your Monday went very well. And with all of that said, this is Naren Savitamas. I am Naren. And of course, I think you can probably tell I really need to go to the loo. With all of that said, I just want to wish you a good night, sweet dreams, and I'll catch you tomorrow. Bye.